Somewhere in Switzerland, there's a man who convinced the President of the United States that soccer could end a war. The President seemed to think that was a great idea. The war, for its part, had no comment. Welcome to the 2026 FIFA World Cup, the largest sporting event in human history. 48 nations, 16 American cities, $100 billion in projected economic impact, and a backstory that makes the actual games look like the boring part. Because here's what the promotional material doesn't mention. This tournament was shaped quietly, methodically, over years by a set of political relationships, financial arrangements, and geopolitical calculations that have almost nothing to do with football, and everything to do with power. To understand what's really happening at the 2026 World Cup, you need to understand what FIFA actually is. And I don't mean the organization that runs tournaments. I mean what it became. 1974, a Brazilian businessman named João Havelange takes over FIFA. Under his leadership, the World Cup transforms from a regional football competition into a global financial empire. TV deals worth hundreds of millions, sponsorships, broadcasting rights auctioned to the highest bidder. By 1998, when Sepp Blatter succeeds him, FIFA is effectively running a sovereign wealth fund with no shareholders, no meaningful oversight, and, as the world would eventually discover, a remarkably flexible relationship with the concept of ethics. How flexible? The U.S. Department of Justice spent years building a case. What they found? Over $150 million in documented bribes and kickbacks paid to FIFA officials in exchange for votes on hosting rights. And that raises a question worth sitting with. If the 2010 World Cup was reportedly bought for $10 million, and if the Qatar 2022 selection process was that deeply compromised, what exactly happened with 2026? His name is Gianni Infantino, born in Switzerland to Italian immigrant parents, a lawyer by training. He becomes FIFA president in 2016, swept in on a wave of reform promises after Blatter's exit in disgrace. Not vague allegations, actual indictments, actual guilty pleas. Actual executives arrested at a Zurich hotel at 6 in the morning, which, as far as dramatic entrances go, is fairly hard to top. The U.S. Attorney General at the time described FIFA's corruption as, and this is a direct quote, rampant, systemic, and deep-rooted, which is the kind of phrase that sounds clinical until you realize it's describing the organization that controls the most watched sporting event on Earth. He is, by all accounts, a charming and energetic man with an instinct for political theater that would make most career politicians envious. In 2018, he visits Donald Trump at the White House. Officially, it's a preliminary conversation about the United States' role in the upcoming 2026 World Cup. In practice, it's the beginning of one of the more unusual relationships in recent sports history. Since that meeting, Infantino has attended Trump's inauguration as a VIP guest. He appeared at Davos alongside the president. He was photographed wearing a red cap bearing the numbers 4547, a clear reference to Trump's two non-consecutive terms. He awarded Trump something called the FIFA Peace Prize, an award, worth noting, that did not exist before it was invented specifically to give to Trump for what the press release described as tireless efforts to promote peace. One could read all of that as strategic diplomacy. The United States is hosting 78 of the tournament's matches. You build the relationship. You make the president feel involved. That is, in the most generous reading, simply competent institutional management. Or you could read it as a preview of what was coming. Because what came next involved an active war, a banned nation, and a meeting where the line between sports administration and geopolitics essentially ceased to exist. Stay with this, because what happened at that White House meeting in 2025 changes the entire framing of this tournament. February 24th, 2022. Russia invades Ukraine. The international response is swift and, for once in FIFA's history, decisive. Within days, FIFA and UEFA jointly announced that Russia is banned from all international football competition, effective immediately. No World Cup qualification, no European club tournaments, total exclusion. This is historically significant. FIFA resisted banning apartheid South Africa for years. Cold War-era boycotts were partial and inconsistent. The Russia ban was total, coordinated, and implemented faster than any comparable action in FIFA's 100-year history. Russia has not played a competitive international match since November 2021, and they will not play at the 2026 World Cup, which will be held, with a certain geopolitical irony that nobody in the official press materials seems eager to acknowledge, on the soil of Russia's primary strategic adversary. Now, fast forward to May 6, 2025. Gianni Infantino is at the White House for the inaugural meeting of the Trump administration's World Cup task force. The agenda: visas, security logistics, stadium coordination, counterterrorism planning, standard pre-tournament administration. At some point, Russia's ban comes up, and according to multiple contemporaneous accounts, Donald Trump, the man hosting the tournament, the man whose country will receive the majority of the economic benefit, responds with what can only be described as genuine surprise. "I didn't know that. Is that right?" Infantino confirms. "They're banned. For the time being, but we hope peace will happen so that Russia can be readmitted." Trump's reply: "That's possible. Hey, that could be a good incentive, right?" Pause. The President of the United States, at a World Cup logistics meeting, has just suggested that restoring Russia's access to international football could serve as a diplomatic carrot to end an active military conflict. This is either creative statecraft, profound naivety, or something else entirely, depending on who you ask and what you think the actual goal was. What's not in question? Within weeks of that meeting, the framing of Russia's ban shifted in several major media outlets from consequence of an invasion to negotiating tool. Whether that's coincidence is left as an exercise for the viewer. Because the World Cup, it turns out, is not just a sporting event. It's a financial instrument. And financial instruments have interested parties. Let's talk about the numbers, because the numbers explain a great deal. The 2026 World Cup is projected to generate between $14 and $30 billion in economic activity in the United States alone. Stadiums, hotels, flights, broadcasting rights, security contracts, food, merchandise, and years of downstream economic effects. Fox Sports holds the American broadcasting rights. The tournament's major global sponsors have committed hundreds of millions in marketing spend. 48 teams means more matches, more airtime, more inventory to sell. The expansion from 32 to 48 teams, framed publicly as a democratic expansion of the game, is, at minimum, also a very effective revenue optimization strategy. More games, more money. The math is not complicated. A tournament of this scale, on this soil, with this level of corporate investment, needs one thing above everything else: the appearance of normality, stability, the reassuring sense that everything is running smoothly. And here is where the political arrangements around this tournament become genuinely uncomfortable. Because the United States, as of 2026, is a country that has enacted travel restrictions affecting citizens from 19 nations, where immigrant visa processing has been suspended for 75 countries, where Amnesty International has published a formal warning that millions of potential fans face what it calls troubling attacks on human rights, simply by attempting to attend the games. Not because of anything they've done, because of where they were born. FIFA's official position on this is best described as studied ambiguity. According to reporting by the Council on Foreign Relations, FIFA has reportedly sought assurances that immigration enforcement will be minimized near tournament venues, a request that neither FIFA has confirmed making officially, nor that the Trump administration has addressed publicly. What FIFA has done is award its host nation's president a peace prize, appear at his rallies, wear his merchandise, and maintain, with impressive consistency, that football is above politics. A position that is becoming, with each passing month, increasingly difficult to say with a straight face. But there's still one more layer to this, and it concerns the three countries that are supposed to be co-hosting this thing together. Inside the U.S. State Department, there is a document. Obtained by Politico, it's called the Sports Diplomacy Playbook. In it, the Trump administration maps out how the 2026 World Cup can be used to advance, in its own language, foreign investment goals and soft policy aims. This is not, in itself, unprecedented. Every major host nation has understood that a World Cup is a soft power event as much as a sporting one. The 1994 U.S. tournament helped normalize soccer in a country that had largely ignored it. The 2006 Germany tournament helped reshape international perceptions of the country after decades of fraught post-war identity politics. Sports diplomacy is real, documented, and legitimate. What's different in 2026 is the degree to which that diplomacy has been weaponized, openly, publicly, without apparent embarrassment, at the same time that the tournament's actual co-hosts are navigating what can charitably be called complicated relationships with each other. Canada is co-hosting the World Cup at a moment when senior American officials have publicly floated, however rhetorically, the idea of Canada as a potential 51st state. Trade tariffs have disrupted cross-border commerce. The word annexation appeared in political commentary, with a frequency that made Canadian officials visibly uncomfortable. Mexico is co-hosting while managing an administration that has been explicitly combative about immigration, border policy, and trade agreements, not with some distant foreign nation, but with Mexico specifically. Three co-hosts, three sets of unresolved tensions, one tournament, and a governing body that is constitutionally incapable of acknowledging that any of this is happening. The original bid was called United 2026. Three nations, one continent, a message of shared humanity. That branding now reads, in the current political climate, less like a vision statement and more like a very optimistic wish. The loudest opposition isn't coming from within FIFA, it's coming from the people. The tournament's official narrative simply doesn't have room for. Stadium workers in several host cities have organized around a straightforward demand: formal written guarantees that immigration enforcement will not operate within or near tournament venues during the games. They have not received those guarantees. What they've received is the assurance from FIFA and local organizing committees that conversations are ongoing. Human rights organizations have published detailed reports. Amnesty International's March 2026 document identified specific categories of fans, from LGBTQ individuals traveling from countries where their rights are unprotected, to journalists from nations with complicated relationships with U.S., authorities who face real and documented risks by attending a sporting event on American soil. Within European football governance, there is a visible unease about the direction of Infantino's leadership. The explicit political alignment with a specific American administration wearing campaign merchandise, attending inaugurations, awarding prizes sits uncomfortably with the formal position that FIFA is a neutral, apolitical body. None of these voices are particularly loud in the official coverage. The promotional material focuses on the stadiums, the brands, the teams, the players, the dream. The dream, in this case, costs about $2,000 in flights and hotels per person to attend, which means the World Cup's actual audience, the people in the seats, skews heavily toward those with the financial resources and the correct passport to make the journey, which is, some observers note, a fairly narrow slice of the global population that FIFA claims to represent. Here are the two futures. Consider them seriously, because one of them is going to happen, and nobody knows which one. In the first, the 2026 World Cup is a genuine triumph. The games are extraordinary. 48 nations produce upsets nobody predicted, heroes nobody had heard of, moments that will be replayed for decades. The political tensions stay off screen. No high-profile incidents, no crises. And the tournament does what it's always done at its best. It temporarily overrides everything else and makes the world feel, briefly, like it belongs to everyone. In that version, Infantino's political calculations pay off. FIFA emerges not just solvent, but strengthened. The Trump administration claims a successful hosting as a legacy achievement. New viewership records, new sponsorship deals, and the complex backstory gets quietly forgotten, the way all backstories do when the main event is good enough. In the second future, something goes wrong. A player's family member is detained at a border checkpoint. A group of journalists from a sanctioned country can't get accreditation. A protest turns into an international incident. The thing that was supposed to be above politics becomes, in one news cycle, entirely about politics. History suggests mega events carry risk in proportion to their ambition. Qatar 2022 was supposed to be a rehabilitation story. It became a 4-week conversation about migrant worker deaths, human rights, and the price of hosting the world. The backstory always finds a way in. FIFA has been investigated, indicted, reformed, and restructured multiple times across multiple decades. The structural incentives that produced the 2015 scandal are, by most institutional analyses, still largely intact. The money is bigger, the politics are louder, and the organization at the center of it has never been more entangled with the kind of geopolitical power that FIFA's own founding documents say it should remain independent from. The 2026 World Cup is the largest, most expensive, most politically complex sporting event in history. It is also genuinely going to feature the best football players alive, competing at the highest level in front of the biggest audience ever assembled. Both of those things are true at the same time. That's not a contradiction. That's just the World Cup. The World Cup has never been clean. 1934. Mussolini uses it to project fascist strength and wins. 1978. Argentina hosts while its military government makes people disappear literally, bureaucratically, permanently, and wins. 1998. France hosts and wins, and the victory becomes a complicated national mythology about multiracial unity that the country is still arguing about. The tournament and the politics around it have always been inseparable. What changes is the degree to which that's acknowledged. In 2026, nobody is hiding it. A US president openly floats a sporting ban as diplomatic leverage in an active war. A FIFA president wears political merchandise at global summits and hands out prizes to heads of state. A State Department document spells out how to use a football tournament to advance foreign policy objectives. This is not subtext. This is text. And Russia banned not for corruption, not for doping, not for match fixing, but for invading a neighbor, sits out the biggest tournament of the century while its national team plays friendlies against whoever will take the booking. That ban is correct. It is also, for certain people in certain rooms, enormously convenient. Both things can be true simultaneously. None of this should prevent you from watching. The football will be extraordinary. The moments will be real. The goals, the upsets, the players who carry entire nations on their backs, and somehow don't drop them, all of that will happen. And it will be worth watching. And it will matter to people in ways that no amount of institutional analysis can fully account for. But the next time someone tells you the World Cup is just a sporting event, that it's above politics, that it unites the world, that it belongs to everyone, you can nod politely. And remember what you know now. It's a $100 billion financial instrument. It's a geopolitical chess piece. It's a platform for the most powerful people on Earth to conduct business in plain sight while the cameras point at the pitch. It has always been those things. And it is also, somehow, still the most beautiful game on Earth, which is either a testament to football's extraordinary resilience or the most effective marketing strategy in human history. Probably both.